The Blue Hotel by Stephen Crane. Part 3. "I think you are tongue-tied," said Scully finally to his son, the cowboy, and the Easterner, and at the end of this scornful sentence he left the room. Upstairs, the Swede was swiftly fastening the straps of his great valise. Once his back happened to be half turned toward the door, and hearing a noise there, he wheeled and sprang up, uttering a loud cry. Scully's wrinkled visage showed grimly in the light of the small lamp he carried. This yellow effulgence, streaming upward, colored only his prominent features, and left his eyes, for instance, in mysterious shadow. He resembled a murderer. Man, he exclaimed, "have you gone daffy?" Oh no, rejoined the other. "There are people in this world who know pretty nearly as much as you do, understand?" For a moment they stood gazing at each other. Upon the Swede's deathly pale cheeks were two brightly crimson and sharply edged, as if they had been carefully painted. Scully placed the light on the table and sat himself on the edge of the bed. He spoke ruminatively. "By cracky, I never heard of such a thing in me life. It's a complete muddle. I can't for the soul of me think how you ever got this idea into your head." Presently he lifted his eyes and asked, "And did you sure think they were going to kill you?" The Swede scanned the old man as if he wished to see into his mind. "I did," he said at last. He obviously suspected that this answer might precipitate an outbreak. As he pulled on a strap, his whole arm shook, the elbow wavering like a bit of paper. Scully banged his hand impressively on the footboard of the bed. "Why, man, we're going to have a line of electric streetcars in this town next spring." "A line of electric streetcars," repeated the Swede, stupidly. "And," said Scully, "there's a new railroad going to be built down from Broken Arm to here, not to mention the 4 churches and the smashin' big brick schoolhouse. Then there's the big factory, too. Why, in 2 years Romper'll be a metropolis." Having finished the preparation of his baggage, the Swede straightened himself. "Mr. Scully," he said with sudden hardihood, "how much do I owe you?" "You don't owe me anything," said the old man angrily. "Yes, I do," retorted the Swede. He took 75 cents from his pocket and tendered it to Scully, but the latter snapped his fingers in disdainful refusal. However, it happened that they both stood gazing in a strange fashion at 3 silver pieces on the Swede's open palm. "I'll not take your money," said Scully at last, "not after what's been going on here." Then a plan seemed to strike him. "Here," he cried, picking up his lamp and moving toward the door. "Here, come with me a minute." "No," said the Swede in overwhelming alarm. "Yes," urged the old man. "Come on. I want you to come and see a picture. Just across the hall, in my room." The Swede must have concluded that his hour has come. His jaw dropped and his teeth showed like a dead man's. He ultimately followed Scully across the corridor, but he had the step of one hung in chains. Scully flashed the light high on the wall of his own chamber. There was revealed a ridiculous photograph of a little girl. She was leaning across a balustrade of a gorgeous decoration, and the formidable bang to her hair was prominent. The figure was as graceful as an upright sled skate, and, withal, it was of the hue of lead. "There," said Scully tenderly, "that's the picture of my little girl that died. Her name was Carrie. She had the purtiest hair you ever saw. I was that fond of her. She—" Turning then, he saw that the Swede was not contemplating the picture at all, but instead was keeping keen watch on the gloom in the rear. "Look, man!" cried Scully heartily. "That's the picture of my little gal that died. Her name was Carrie. And then here's the picture of my oldest boy, Michael. He's a lawyer in Lincoln and doing well. I gave that boy a grand education, and I'm glad for it now. He's a fine boy. Look at him now. Ain't he bold as blazes, him there in Lincoln? An honoured and respected gentleman," concluded Scully with a flourish, and, so saying, he smote the Swede jovially on the back. The Swede faintly smiled. "Now," said the old man, "there's only one more thing." He dropped suddenly to the floor and thrust his head beneath the bed. The Swede could hear his muffled voice. "I'd keep it under me pillar if it wasn't for that boy Johnny. Then there's the old woman. Where is it now? I never put it twice in the same place. Ah, now come out with you." Presently he backed clumsily from under the bed, dragging with him an old coat rolled in a bundle. "I fetched him," he muttered. Kneeling on the floor, he unrolled the coat and extracted from its heart a large yellow-brown whiskey bottle. His first maneuver was to hold the bottle up to the light, reassured apparently that nobody had been tampering with it. He thrust it with a generous movement toward the Swede. The weak-kneed Swede was about to eagerly clutch this element of strength, but he suddenly jerked his hand away and cast a look of horror upon Scully. "Drink," said the old man affectionately. He had risen to his feet and now stood facing the Swede. There was a silence. Then again Scully said, "Drink." The Swede laughed wildly. He grabbed the bottle, put it in his mouth, and as his lips curled absurdly around the opening and his throat worked, he kept his glance, burning with hatred, upon the old man's face.